Fishing was the primary livelihood of the people of Olongapo during the earlier years. Under the records of history, native Adas were the first residents of the place. There is an inherent promise of paradise in Olongapo due to its strategic location, protected ports, and flourishing waters. Foreigners were attracted by these. It was in the year 1884 that Spaniards were fascinated and used Olongapo as a naval station. Spaniards came and conquered the town as they made it their navy settlement. King Alfonso II declared Olongapo as Spain's stronghold in the Far East because of its notable deep-water harbor and the protection provided by the mountains surrounding the place against strong winds. A still-established Spanish gate up to the grounds where the U.S. ship repair facility stood were the lands dominated by the camps of the Spaniards back then. After the war between Spain and America had passed, Admiral George Dewey took authority over Olongapo from the Spaniards in the year 1898. Just like the potential the Spaniards had seen over the place, America also saw the convenient place Olongapo was to be made into a water and fuel refueling station. Under the hand of the Americans, Olongapo became a U.S. military reservation. In the year 1942, it was then the Japanese who sailed over to Olongapo. They were relentlessly cruel and violent. Olongapo remained under their iron fist for 3 years. After the Japanese had been banished in the year 1945, Olongapo was then restored back, still under the governance of America. March 14, 1947, Military Bases Agreement was signed into law that ordains 99 years of occupancy of America in Subic Bay and governance over the entire Olongapo. During their times of stay, Olongapo became modern. Olongapo never was behind with the trends, like television, telephones, and automobiles. Olongapo was always first with what was new, even with music, arts, technology, and others. Some Olongapeños also became popular in the field of theater. With the further expansion of the U.S. Naval Force, a bigger area was needed. Tapan Park, which was the center of the community of Olongapo, was also then used to expand the units of the naval force, which is why Olongapeño working residents were pushed over to the fringes of the area, up until the vicinity of the Calaclan River. Under the perseverance and efforts of the then Mayor James Leonard Gordon Sr., the wishes of the mass were heard and granted, that Olongapo became independent. It became a municipality on December 7, 1959 by the virtue of Executive Order No. 366, which was issued by then-President Carlos P. Garcia. 7 years later, then-President Ferdinand E. Marcos then signed Republic Act No. 4645. Olongapo became a chartered city on June 1, 1966. For a long period, Olongapo and the United States had a good relationship because of the naval station. Many had livelihoods, and the economy was steadily blooming.
The Philippine Senate has until September 16 to ratify a treaty governing the future of the U.S. bases in the country.
We are talking about lives! We're talking about people! We're talking about people who will not be able to clothe their children!
September 1991 was when there was an extensive and collective movement of the citizens of Olongapo in order to maintain the U.S. naval base in the Philippines. It was firmly fought for by the Olongapeños, for the U.S. naval station was the biggest income-generating client of Luzon. In the same year, Olongapo also experienced the worst of calamities when Mount Pinatubo erupted, which brought about extensive damage to Olongapo City and the U.S. naval facility. Volcanic eruption destroyed pieces of property, displaced thousands of families, and killed hundreds of people. Mount Pinatubo's eruption was considered the largest volcanic eruption of the century to affect a densely populated area. With their determination, Olongapeños assembled in the initiative of then Olongapo Mayor Richard Gordon. The citizens of Olongapo formed a political party for 3 months for the concept of a free port in the Bases Conversion Act. On an unfortunate note, the Senate rejected this idea without even consultation with the people who are going to be directly affected. The Senate of the Philippines rejected the treaty agreement between the Republic of the Philippines and the United States of America.
With a vote of 11-11 and adding my own negative vote, the treaty is defeated.
Olongapo, however, succeeded through Republic Act No. 7227 on March 1992 that established Subic Bay Freeport Zone under Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority. Then-President Corazon Aquino signed the said Republic Act, creating Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority and appointed Mayor Richard J. Gordon as Chairman and Chief Executive Officer.
Tuluyan ng milisan ng mga Amerikano ang base militar nila sa Subic. Naglayag palabas ng Subic Bay ang USS Bellewood, ang huling barkong pandigma ng pinakamakapangyarihang bansa sa buong mundo na dumaong sa Subic.
November 24, 1992 was when the US forces finally left Olongapo. The US naval facility was turned over to the Philippine government. This day left a mark on history. The popular trait of Olongapeños became even more known: volunteerism. During this period, the citizens of Olongapo went out of their homes on their own initiatives in order to tend to the parts of Olongapo wherein they once lived in. Under the aid of 8,000 volunteers spearheaded by Senator Richard Gordon. The place, which was evacuated by the US Army, was tidied up and revived by Olongapeños. The old Olongapo, which was then a naval base, is now the Subic Bay Freeport Zone under the governance of the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority. With the entry of investors in Subic Bay Freeport Zone, the economy of the city got back on its feet and generated jobs. With the collective efforts of Olongapeño volunteers who catered and cared for the evacuated areas of Americans, a steadfast and progressive Subic Bay Freeport Zone and Olongapo City was fulfilled. The spirit of volunteerism of citizens of Olongapo, which advanced with the evacuation of the US forces, is merely an evidence of the huge debt of gratitude of these people to the area which was once a part of Olongapo. The Subic Bay Freeport Zone, the old Olongapo, which is a part of the history of Olongapo, remains to be a part of Olongapo. The citizens of Olongapo, volunteerism, and the spirit of civic unity and cooperation among Filipinos continue to prevail with the progression of time. Olongapeño volunteers then and now continue to care for the land they grew up in, constantly fighting for excellence.